Now it's your turn.
What you do, although I don't claim to be a psychologist, my question for you is, you mentioned that you studied Veda, the Indian philosophy, the Indian science.
Yes.
How did Veda influence your thoughts, your ideas? Could you just say something?
Yes, I certainly can. That's a wonderful question. Thank you. Yes, the way in the background, it was always in the background of this experience that happened to me. And I studied with a Hindu teacher who is a Kundalini science master, Swami Chandrasekharanand Saraswati in Rishikesh. And what I learned from him, especially when he was describing to me the Om practice, where you go, ah is ordinary life, waking life, ah, waking life, ooh is dream life, is deep sleep, which is where you're asleep and you don't dream, and that way what they call Purusha, where the light can shine on you, and then Om. So it's a 4-step process. And what I finally understood in studying this was that the ah of Om, ah was the waking state, dissolved into the dream state. When you do that meditation, it dissolves into the dream state. And then the dissolves into deep sleep. And they all dissolve into radiance. And at that moment in time, this was such an amazing thing that I learned. In that moment in time, it changes from vibration, which takes you from step to step to step, into radiance. So that the oneness is radiance. That's how it, and that helped me in understanding that moment. That a change in vibration had changed, and I was carried to radiance. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Very much.
Hi, my name is Christine Albright. I'm a certified energetic, spiritual, and intuitive healer. And your talk really hit me, especially at the end, because I specialize in working with people with multiple sclerosis because I was diagnosed with MS in 1990. And over the course of 4 years of doing exactly what you're talking about, I completely healed the MS. I've been symptom-free for 21 years. And I work with people nation and worldwide with MS. But the same thing, it was like instead of hating and fearing and fighting the MS and trying to make it go away and being horribly scared of it, I learned to embrace it and love it, and just the fear was enormous. It would just take me out all the time. And I finally learned to, well, first I faced the fear. Instead of running all the time, it was like always nipping at my heels and I couldn't outrun it.
Right.
And I finally turned and faced it, and at first I growled back at it, and when I growled back, it ran away. But then I learned to embrace the fear and ask it what it was trying to teach me. And it was teaching me amazing things. And the symptoms, and you talked about this too, is embracing the symptoms, because we're taught to fear the symptom and take a pill or try to get rid of it. And inside the symptom, when you embrace it and bring love into it, instead of hating it, fighting it, I would embrace the fear, embrace the symptom and ask it why it was there, what it was trying to teach me in being there. And every single time, it would tell me exactly what I needed to know to heal the MS. So as I did this over and over again, because I grew up with a lot of abuse and things, and my body wanted me to heal that. My heart and soul wanted me to heal through the MS. So the MS became the friend, the gift, because I wouldn't have gone into it if I didn't have the MS. And it taught me all this stuff. So that's how I healed it. So I'm working with people and writing a book and speaking. And so thank you very much.
That's
It's
wonderful.
nice to hear what you have to say. Thank you.
That's a beautiful example of it.
Yeah, it's just embracing it, because we're taught to hate it, fear it, and fight it, get rid of it, and it's just the opposite.
Yeah.
And we just love ourselves, and whatever the problem is, or the problem, we think it's a problem, but it's not, it's just there as a gift, really. So it's amazing how it works. Thank you.
Yeah, in the Hindu tradition also, we learned about the gunas. They call the gunas, which are on the way to oneness, and they are action and activity, passivity, action, and you have to learn how to balance those, and then you transcend to what they call sattva, which is peacefulness. And that's a step on the way. The next step, then, the radiance is still there, but it's the way of gently being taken there.
Right.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Wow.
I've got a couple of questions to ask you. I would like to hear you say something about how what you're calling Supra-Brain or scalar consciousness, the aspects of that, how they relate to what are the traditional symptoms of mystical consciousness, high mystical consciousness, the sense of oneness, the sense of beauty, the sense of love for all that is. I would like to see how you see the relationship between what you've described and what you're calling by scalar consciousness and mystical consciousness. And the second question I'm going to ask you, you mentioned that you had studied Vedic philosophy. How does what you, again, it's the same thing, how does what you're calling super consciousness or scalar consciousness, how does that relate to what in the East is called enlightenment? And also, how do you see Kundalini playing a role in that process? There's a couple of books, a couple of new books for you.
30 minutes.
Well, basically, I think it's the same thing. I think it's the same thing. I think it is. The thing that I learned in this through this process is that I didn't get there by myself or in my thinking mind or in my ego. In that moment, that when that moment, I can remember it. It's like a year ago now, maybe almost. I can remember that moment when those two came together. There was a space that I felt that was not normal reality. It was beyond. And I think that it's the same thing. I think it's the same thing as enlightenment, but it's a more practical one.